Does this look familiar? Y'all already know that I plan on reworking a little bit in the camper house after the RV goes. Which probably won't wait for the RV to leave, because I know the RV's got to come out of there, even if, I mean, I'm pretty sure Ted will take it, but even if he decides not to, we've got to pull the RV out. I mean, that was really something that has to be done, because there's like, it's thundering. Let me step out here. Yeah, it's thundering. So I haven't really done anything out here. It needs to be swept. It needs to be blowed off. I'm still underneath the tarp that I set up. We basically only needed the tarp for a day before the power came back on, which was great. I'm not upset about the power coming back on. But Katie, you need to hush up now. It is not even, just because I come outside doesn't mean you get to holler at me. Alright, so I'm going to say something while I'm out here right now, because y'all just seen Katie. Hold on, let me turn it to me. Alright, I probably look pretty rugged, and I've got a blue tarp over me, so it's giving me a blue, ooh, stink bug. Stink bug. The other day in one of the videos, I said something about how I had been really upset that day. I'd cried a whole lot that day. I'm not one that likes to put the sad things out. I know that a lot of the creators here on the hill will. I don't like to put the sad things out. We lost Casey. I don't want to cry about it right now. Just wanted to tell y'all, because I've had several people ask me, we haven't seen the goats lately. Casey's no longer with us. During the time when we had no power, he started limping on one leg, and I'm trying to remember if that was in a video or if I said something about him limping. He was giving to his back leg, and that evening when I was feeding up, it was dark. They lived for a week in the dark at night, pitch black dark. There's nothing I could do about it. I have solar lights. I hung one over that fence over there, but they're only motion activated. So there's, anyway. Daddy said maybe he got snake bit. He was given to one leg, and the next day he took his bottle that night. The next morning he took his bottle, but he wouldn't stand. He took it laying down or sitting, in that lay position, but his head was up, but he was laying. But he took his bottle. He didn't take it as vigorously as he usually had been taking it, but he did take it. But that evening he had passed. So later, it wasn't even evening, it was later that afternoon. I looked at him. I couldn't find a mark or blood, but that's what Dad said. He was little, and if a snake bit him in that dark yard, maybe, I don't know. But Buddy buried him for me. Buried him right over there in the backyard. So Katie, and then I didn't film her for a couple of days because she was going through a withdrawal without him. So she cried and she cried and she cried, and I hung out with her so much. And then I would let her out here in this part of the backyard with me a lot, until she finally started acting more normal again, like she was it's kind of sad to say, but she got used to the fact he wasn't here. I thought about bringing either Mary or baby girl in with her, but they're both rough, and she's still little. As big as she is and as healthy as she is and energetic and active, the goats push each other. They just end each other with their heads and stuff, and I just don't want any of them hurting her yet. But anyway, it was very, very traumatic for me because honestly, I've never had a goat pass away on me. And I mean, I've had dog dies, and I've had dogs die, and cats die, but I've never been given a goat or raised a goat on its own that I haven't been, even the ones that were sick and the ones that we thought might not make it. And then to have him, it was so hard to make him eat at first because he'd had a mama and he'd never had a bottle. Then he started taking his bottle good, and I was feeding him, just like her. I'd just go up to the gate and shove the bottle in, and he'd just take it so fast and happy. And in the day, he'd just be out there grazing with her like she does, just all over. But then that one day, and it happened so fast. It was like one day he was standing there taking his bottle at the fence, and it wasn't quite, it was when we had no power. So I was trying to do things early enough that I could still see good while I did things. Because once it got dark here, you don't even know dark till there's no power. The only lights I had, that showed any kind of light were all these solar lights, except for right here on the back deck where we had the TV going and the lamp or the little lights plugged in. But yeah, I could notice that he was sort of all three legs but one back leg up in the air. And so I did mess with it. I felt of it. I'm thinking, well, did she hit him? Did she knock him down? Because she's, so rambunctious. And I thought, well, maybe she just like stepped on him when he was laying or something, and he's just sore. But the next morning he wouldn't get up at all. And he took his bottle in a sitting position. And by that evening he had went to heaven. So it was, and I don't like to film that. I don't like to talk about it. So it's been over a week now, and I guess it was sad. And I couldn't pull myself together the day that it happened. I mean, I think it all sort of hit me. Not, we're living in the dark, and you're taking care of everything the best you can, and then you have one that, like I told Dad, I said he wasn't sick. He hadn't been sick. I mean, those, 2 weeks prior to that, or almost 3 weeks prior to that, they had gone through some kind of little something where I was giving them cord, but her too. But they both then cleared completely up. Even laying there in his house where he was laying, before, so I did eventually bring him to the back deck. Because I thought, well, if he don't feel real good, maybe he don't feel real good. But he did pass away here. He passed away here on the deck, in a dog bed, in one of the little dog beds. I didn't want her, when he took his bottle laying down, I thought, well, she may step all over him and he's not feeling good. So, I ended up bringing him in here, and then I let her out just to be in the yard, just so she would, not realize he's not running around with her. And I put him right over there in the corner. The fan was on. We didn't have any power, but we had the generator, and I had the fan going, and he was laying there, and I looked him all over, couldn't find anything wrong with him, but just he was so lethargic. And anyway, he didn't make it. But even up until that day, up until that happened, when he pooped and he was laying in there, and I sweep out their house every day, and I sprinkle it with the first Saturday lime, so it's always clean at night when they go in. And right where he was sitting, because he wouldn't get up, he had pooped, but it was still little. He wasn't sick. Something happened. His little poops were little hard pellets, like they're supposed to be. So I don't know. It was really, really hard. And when I thought I'd bring him to the porch, and that way I can check him and look at him and visit with him and love him, so he didn't feel sad. And then when I was doing stuff out here, and I come through and I looked over at him and I said, Casey, Mama sees you, you know, I don't know, said something to him, and then I looked, and he didn't make it. So, I didn't video any of that. I didn't want to talk about it, or I don't like sad things. I don't want to tell y'all a bunch of sad things. So it's been a bit. But anyway, I'm fixing to clean a little bit back here. I thought about leaving this tarp up, but pulling it on down here to this end right here, and all the ferns are right here. And I thought about just keeping them under the, you know, they don't like the direct light. And I just thought, you know, leave the tarp, leave the canopy up, and move it down to this corner so it's away from the door, because right now the door touches it. And when I was coming out just to gas up the things, it was fine just to sneak through the little door and be underneath here. But I think it would be sort of nice just to stick it in this corner down here and leave it I mean, they're fairly cheap. I mean, I don't want it to tear up, but I just feel like I could put it right down here in this corner and put all the ferns underneath it, and so they're still in the daylight, but they're not getting any direct light. And I'm not ready to put mine back on the back porch yet, because I still have them 2 beds there, because I need to do what I need to do. I've either got to bring them back in the house, and therefore they're once again stacked somewhere, because they weren't being used. It was what was left over from the getting a new bed in the bedroom and all that kind of stuff. So they were going to go to the RV, I mean to the camper. That's the little camper house is where they were headed before we lost power. And so we used them out here. And even though I've cleaned up out there and took his DVD player and all that back in the house, I went ahead and left the TV out here. And I just told him a while ago, I said, you know what? The TV's out there. You can go out and sit and watch. You need to get outside a little bit before the rain comes. So we've had the rain once today already. And it's thundering, and so we're supposed to get rain all this whole week. I mowed the front yard. And then mowed Debbie's yard. And I mowed Tony's yard. And when I come around to the back pasture to mow, I was going to mow the fence line. And then when I got up to that gate, then come through the gate and mow my backyard. And when I come up the fence line, evidently during the flood, see, I haven't mowed out there since we had that flood, you know, back in, May? End of May, whenever that flood was. All the canoes were here, and the goats and all that stuff was in the front yard, all that flood. I haven't mowed the back pasture. I may have made a circle maybe once around the pond, or at least on this side of the pond. But it hasn't been mowed, and I think well, I know it did, because there was no wire there before. So I ran over some wire, like it looks like chicken wire, but it was all wadded up and stuff. So I don't know if the mower wadded it up or if it was already wadded up. And the only thing I can think of is in that burn pile back there, there was some fencing, and I can tell you it wasn't my fencing. Somebody else brought that fencing there. I'm not going to say who, but I know who it was. But they're one of those, use their tractor to pull the fencing out of the ground, and they just drag it, fence, wire, post, everything hooked together. And I think some of that stuff floated, like maybe stuck to a stick or something, and most of floated. I ran over it because you couldn't see it in the tall grass. And so I killed my mower. Well, I didn't kill the mower, but I killed the blades. But I also noticed that my belt broke. So I guess when I hit the wire, it put it in a bind, and that made the belt stretch. So here I am again without a belt. So I've ordered a new belt. I told Mom earlier, I said, you know what? When I went back to order another belt, it said I'd made 3 purchases of belts in the last year. 3 belts in a year. Now this is going to be number 4. And I said, now this I could say I hit something that possibly stretched the belt or popped the belt or whatever. I don't know. Because I know I hit that clump. But the other belts, they just wore out. And so this time I paid more money than I wanted to, but I paid more money for a different belt, not the same from the 3 that I'd previously had. I went like same belt, not model number and all that, but I'm hoping up a level in workmanship or something. That belt's got a lot. They need to last longer. They just need to last longer. So once again, I'll be taking it to, I may see if Buddy can do it when the belt comes, but more than likely I'll just be taking it back up there to Daniel, and me and him will try to do it like we did last time. They're hard, and I get scared because I don't want my hands popped or hit, or I don't want to lose a finger. I know I do guy things, but I don't want to be like a guy with half a finger missing and you just live like that the rest of your life. With my friend David did something when he was younger, working on something, and he lost half of a pinky, but even though it's just a little bit of the end is gone, so it's not as long as it should be, it never grew a nail there either. So what little bit of nail could have grown doesn't grow. So I mean, I don't want to be that person. Or like on Maine Cabin Masters, I love to watch them. There was a house they did one time for a guy that only had like a thumb and 3 fingers. One of his fingers was missing from something. Anyway, you hear that thunder? I'm going to work right here on this back deck and do a little bit of stuff. I told Levi I'm getting hungry, but I don't want to sit down yet for the evening. It's almost 5. So I'm going to clean the back deck. I'm going to move this tarp over to this corner and put the ferns better arranged over here. And then I'm going to feed up everybody. And so I'll get all that done before it gets dark or rain. So I will show y'all what I get done out here. 2 dogs and a blanket. Do you think that's ridiculous? Glad that's your back showing and not your butt. I got all the ferns moved over here. I got the canopy pushed that direction, and I got it kind of swept. I think my blower's on the front porch, but it started raining. Look, it's raining right now. I managed to get all them fed real fast, although her fat butt, Miss Molly, has already run over and started eating goat food. It looks like Bilbo Bilbo and Frodo are giving her the stink eye. They're right behind her, staring at her. Look at them. Too funny. All right, I guess we're gonna go in and try to find some food to eat. But yeah, guys, this whole week we got rain every day. I guess it's gonna be a couple of times a day because we had rain this morning. I ran out early this morning. I hate mowing with wet grass. I like it to, you know, like the sun to burn the wet off before I come out and mow, but I didn't wait because I knew the rain was coming. And as it turned out, I didn't get to mow my backyard, so that was very disappointing. Yeah, I guess. Oh, and I'm thinking about something to do in my front yard. Steph brought it to me. Steph and Buddy we're out and about, found a nursery that had them all marked down. So she brought me the four red crepe myrtles. I planted one over there by the fort. I planted one here. When the fence all went all the way down, I think there was another one out there somewhere, but it died back. And then I planted 2 in the front yard. Hold on. Look at that sky. Okay, so these 2 right here. This one and this one. What I want to do when it comes fall is to cut them back about halfway the height of the window, like the height of the middle of that window. I want to cut back. There's one coming up right there from a seed, but it has not ever flowered. And I've got some kind of stupid vine wrapping around it. I have to cut that off too. That came up on its own, that little one down there. It came up from a seed from them, I guess. But I want to, when it gets fall, when they go dormant, I want to cut them off midway. And I'm going to keep them cut. where they're more, all their color is here, not way up here. I want their color to be down here. And then I'm gonna get, I think I counted out 3 more. See, my whole driveway is canopied, but there's some random trees like that right there, that tree. There's actually 2 trees right there. This Tarp tree right here, it's hard to see it. It's going right there. And then there's another, some type of a tree right there. Those should have been cut out, pulled up, or whatever when they decided to come up amongst those trees. Yeah, Patarba. Oh, that's these. Okay, see that dark one down there? This is a tall tree right here. I hope it never comes down. Anyway, I love my driveway. I honestly, it may look scraggly to some of you guys, especially the negative Nancys that always have something to say about something. I've got a few followers that just want to be negative about everything, but I love my driveway. I love the canopy that these crepe myrtles make. But my yard itself doesn't have a lot of color. When my jasmine is open, it's beautiful. And those crepe myrtles right there are beautiful. If you can look past, you see purple back there, because I have a crepe myrtle in the backyard, in the side yard where Katie is. It's a big crepe myrtle back there. But I would like to get 3 or 4 more crepe myrtles for my front yard. And I would like to stay in line with this pecan tree, which honestly, guys, I may be losing this pecan tree. It's got a hole on the back side of it that Mauricio, the guy that cut these trees, I asked him to look at it. I was told when the people came that time, you know, the tree back there that I have the trunk that I drilled the holes and stuffed the fake flowers in. Okay, that was that big pecan tree that, if you remember, on my deck, my deck was around it, and then they cut it. They left it like 8 foot in the air, and then Daniel come and cut a piece off to make it more short. And the bottom section of it is right there with those fake flowers in it. It's the trunk part, the part that's close to the ground that sort of branched out into roots. No, actually, it's not that part. That part's under the ground. That was dumb. I shouldn't have said that. Well, you can see where it was wanting to go down, how like, sounds stupid, like this, like the hump in the tree where it's going down. You know, where it's here and then it goes this way. That tree trunk piece has that. But if you remember, what's still under the ground is what was the part that went down into the ground is still there underneath my deck. If I was to pull the rug back, or leave us at right now, and move that little love seat, you will see where I pieced in those deck boards. And if you can remember back to that video, I think Dad has a video and I have a video where we both videoed a little bit of us working on that. And he was cutting it. Daniel cut to a certain point, then I cut. All we needed to get down was just this little bit. So every time we would cut for a bit, I would take a deck board and I'd lay on it and see if it gave a wobble. And if it wobbled, then we knew we still needed more to cut out. Anyway, that's where that came from. But when those people cut that one down, they said that this one needed to come down too. And I just really didn't want it to come down. So Mauricio was here when he cooked these down. When he came back to get paid, remember he told me I could pay him on payday. So when he come back to get the money, I asked him to tell me about this one, and he felt up under that hole. The wind's blowing and it's getting dark. I mean, like dark. I've got stuff here I need to put up. I got lumber in the back of my truck, but at least it's all protected. See, he felt up underneath there and he was just pulling out rotten. And he said this limb right here is the one he would be most concerned about because it goes over my house. So he said for $500, he could come and top out the tree, take this limb off, and maybe cut some of these other limbs off where I could keep the tree for a few more years. But the truth is, it still at some point will need to come down. But he said the weight of it, because it's hollow and it starts bending right there, he said the best thing would be to have him cut it down. So I feel like that's what I'm gonna have to have done, and I hate it. I hate the thought of it, but it doesn't really put out a lot of pecans anymore like my backyard one does. My backyard tree right there at the end of the porch deck, it throws so many pecans, and I've got the new one up here that will throw pecans as it gets older. This one doesn't throw as many pecans anymore. I hardly ever pick any up from this tree. So if y'all can see, there's a line in it right there, like a cut where a fence, there's actually a couple of them, is where a fence used to be. I told him when he cut it right there, and then I can put that like little roof on it and do a like a gnome house, like make it look like gnomes live there. I can have the bottom open, maybe put some lights up in it a little bit where it looks lit up at night. Cut all this. Nanny planted this stuff. I don't even know what it is, but it never flowers. Well, that's not true. I've been here 24 years living on this property, and whatever that is, has flowered twice. So I really don't know, but I would love to make that look like it's a little gnome house or a fairy house right here in the front yard. And I think I might do the same thing to that little trunk out there. Do some kind of little roof over it and make it look like a little fairy house. That'll give some of my fairy stuff a house until I get the rest of the deck finished. But what I would like to do with the crepe myrtles, like I told y'all, is cut those down about midway so the flowers are down low and not way up in the sky. And then I would like to go in line with this tree toward my turnaround spot right there and put 4 more or 3 more and keep them always at, just a little higher than me. So you can bush out your crepe myrtles. A lot of people don't do it, but you can do it. You can even buy a dwarf crepe myrtle that doesn't even get very tall, and you can still keep it a little bit confined, trim back, and your flowers stay low instead of way up in the air. You have to look up for the color. You can see the color right out with your eye. And that's what I would like to do with those 2 in the front. And when I get these planted, I'd like to do that right here too. All right, it's here now. I'm gonna go on in and get something started for Levi. It's coming down. All right, love you guys. God bless y'all. I'll see you later. Katie, I'm trying to do a video.